We need to say this without softening it, because what you are feeling is not confusion by accident. It is confusion by design, and the longer it stays unnamed, the deeper it carves itself into your nervous system. This is not just about love anymore. This is about how modern bonds slowly teach people to doubt their own needs while calling it maturity. So let's begin where it actually hurts. We live in an era where emotional access is cheap, but emotional commitment is rare. People give you their time, their stories, their vulnerability, their late nights and early mornings. They let you into their inner world, but they keep you out of their future, and at first it feels intimate, it feels special, it feels chosen. Until one day you realize that intimacy without intention is just emotional exposure without protection. The strongest hook of modern bonds is intensity. Intensity feels like depth. Intensity feels like destiny. When someone talks to you every day, shares their fears, tells you you're different, makes you feel seen in ways others never have, your brain releases chemicals that convince you this must mean something solid. But chemistry is not commitment. And consistency without clarity slowly turns into emotional instability. Unlabeled bonds don't start painful, they start beautiful. They start with connection that feels effortless, conversations that feel endless, understanding that feels rare. You tell yourself labels aren't necessary because what you feel is real. You tell yourself you're being modern, evolved, patient. But what you're really doing is postponing a conversation your heart has already had 1,000 times. The human nervous system craves safety, not excitement, not mystery, safety, and unlabeled bonds deny that safety. Because when you don't know where you stand, your body stays alert, you analyze tone, you overthink timing, you measure effort. You read between lines that were never meant to be read. And slowly, love stops feeling like home and starts feeling like something you have to earn. Modern bonds have no labels because labels demand courage. A label forces a person to confront their intentions. It asks a simple but terrifying question. Am I willing to be responsible for the impact I have on this person's heart? And many people are not afraid of love. They are afraid of accountability. We are raising generations that were taught how to leave, not how to stay, taught how to detach, not how to repair, taught how to protect themselves at all costs, even if the cost is connection. So when something real appears, something that could actually grow, the instinct is not to nurture it. The instinct is to control it by keeping it undefined. Unlabeled bonds often survive on unspoken agreements. I won't ask for clarity if you don't leave. You won't commit if I don't pressure you. And both people pretend this balance is mutual, but it rarely is. One person is usually sacrificing their peace to preserve the bond, while the other is preserving their freedom at the expense of the bond. Another reason modern bonds remain unlabeled is unresolved trauma. People who were abandoned, betrayed, emotionally neglected, or made to feel replaceable in the past often struggle to define connections in the present. Not because they don't care, but because caring feels dangerous. A label feels like opening a door to loss, so they keep one foot out, just in case. But what trauma doesn't tell you is this. Avoidance does not prevent pain. It delays it. And delayed pain often cuts deeper. Because by the time the truth surfaces, attachment has already formed. And detaching from something undefined is harder than walking away from something honest. Social media has amplified this crisis. Endless options create the illusion of endless opportunity. When people believe there is always someone better, they hesitate to choose anyone fully. Commitment starts to feel like limitation instead of devotion. So bonds remain flexible, ambiguous, non-exclusive, not because they lack depth, but because people are addicted to the comfort of not deciding. Unlabeled bonds also exist because emotional intimacy has been separated from responsibility. People now share their deepest wounds with someone they have no plan to protect. They give access to their inner world without building external structure. It feels deep, but it's unstable, like building a house on water and calling it freedom. There is a dangerous belief circulating today that labels ruin love, that once you define something it loses its magic, that clarity kills excitement, that commitment creates boredom. But what actually kills love is anxiety. And anxiety thrives in uncertainty. The heart does not need mystery to stay alive. It needs safety to stay open. Another uncomfortable truth is that some people knowingly stay in unlabeled bonds because it benefits them. They receive emotional support, validation, attention, loyalty, without offering security in return. They enjoy being needed without needing back. And because nothing is defined, they can leave at any moment without explanation. This is not love. This is emotional convenience, and the most painful part is this. The person who wants clarity is often made to feel needy, too emotional, too attached, too serious. But wanting to know where you stand is not insecurity, it is self-respect. And a bond that shames you for asking for clarity is already telling you everything you need to know. Modern bonds lack labels because honest communication has become rare. Instead of direct conversations, people rely on hints, vibes, assumptions, and silence. Silence becomes the safe place to hide. But silence is not neutral. Silence always favors the person with less emotional investment. Unlabeled bonds also create a distorted sense of depth. Because there are no rules, emotions feel intense. Because there are no boundaries, attachment grows quickly. Because there is no clarity, everything feels urgent, but intensity is not intimacy and urgency is not love. Love is calm. Love is grounding. Love does not make you question your worth. At some point, every unlabeled bond reaches a breaking point, not because someone did something wrong, but because the heart can only tolerate uncertainty for so long. The question you've been avoiding starts to demand an answer, and when it finally surfaces, it reveals one of two things: mutual readiness or misaligned intentions. Some unlabeled bonds end quietly. No closure, no explanation, just distance. And that silence hurts more than rejection because it leaves you questioning your reality. Was it real? Did I imagine it? Did I matter? And those questions don't fade easily. Others end dramatically, with confessions that come too late, with realizations that arrive after damage has already been done, with words like "I didn't know what I had until it was gone." But clarity delayed is clarity denied, and timing matters in love. Here is the truth most people don't want to accept. If someone truly values you, they will not be afraid to define you. They may move slowly, they may need time, but they will move forward, not sideways. Ambiguity that lasts too long is rarely confusion. It is a decision to avoid deciding. This does not mean unlabeled bonds are meaningless. Some are transformative. Some teach us how deeply we can feel. Some awaken parts of us we didn't know existed. Some arrive to heal old wounds by showing us what connection can feel like. But a bond meant to stay unlabeled forever will eventually demand a price, and that price is usually your peace. Every human heart asks the same questions, whether spoken or not. Am I chosen? Am I safe? Do I matter? And when a bond cannot answer those questions, the heart starts to ache. Not because love is absent, but because clarity is modern. Bonds have no labels because people are still learning how to love without armor. They want closeness without risk, attachment without loss, connection without vulnerability. But love has always required courage. And courage means being willing to name what you feel and stand behind it. Labels are not cages. They are agreements. Agreements to protect each other, to show up consistently, to take responsibility for the impact you have on someone's heart. Avoiding labels does not keep love free. It keeps love fragile. If you are in an unlabeled bond, listen carefully to your body. Confusion is not love's language. Anxiety is not passion. Hope without evidence is not trust. A bond meant to grow will not punish you for asking where it's going. Some bonds are unlabeled because they are still becoming. Others are unlabeled because someone is afraid to choose. And knowing the difference is an act of self-love. Do not mistake emotional access for emotional availability. Do not confuse intensity with intention. And do not shrink your needs to fit someone else's fear, because love does not disappear because of labels. It disappears because of avoidance. If this spoke to something real inside you, you are not alone. This is the story of our generation. Quiet connections, loud feelings, silent answers. Like this video if it resonated with your heart. Share it with someone living in an unsaid bond. Subscribe to Unsaid Bond for emotional truths, psychological depth, and the words we all feel but rarely say. And remember this: some bonds are unlabeled because they are unfinished. Others are unlabeled because someone is afraid to choose. Know the difference. Protect your heart. And never settle for confusion where clarity is deserved. This is Unsaid Bond.